All right. Well, good evening, good morning, or wherever you are watching this broadcast, this Google Hangout. My name is Richard Duffy. I'm also known as Reverend Rich, and I've started my journey in building wealth consciousness all over the world. And I am truly excited about this opportunity. I'm excited about the technology that allows teachers like myself and thousands of others who are utilizing this wonderful tool, which is Google Hangout, to share their dream or share their passion and add value and good content all over the world. So I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. I also want to share with you with this first video more of a tradition, more of my journey from where I was in my mindset and how I evolved to where I am right now. So it has been a journey, but I'm excited about the breakthrough. And I truly believe that because I have had a breakthrough in my life, there are some people who's going to listen to my message, to the video, to the hangouts. They're going to read my blogs and many different things that I'm going to offer people. They're going to have a breakthrough too, because I truly do believe that some of the things I'm going to share with you over the period of years, that somebody has experienced the same thing that I have experienced in the past. Recognize one thing and one thing only, that we are continue to grow. We're always growing, and we're continue to evolve. So even the things I'm going to share with you now, a year later, there are going to be some new things and new ideas that are going to unfold, that's going to continue to help us to become the infinite beings that we are and to manifest the things that we desire. So again, where do I begin? First, I want to give you an idea of why I am pursuing the teaching of prosperity and wealth consciousness. I was raised back in the early 70s, 80s, under the Pentecostal holiness tradition. And in that particular tradition, not only that, in basically religious circles, period, prosperity and wealth was not the ideal conversation, neither was it talked about in many pulpits. As a matter of fact, if you spoke about prosperity and if you desire to be wealthy or have wealth and success, you were considered worldly, or you would consider following the things of the world. So if you wanted to pursue prosperity, like for myself, there was blockage, there was a struggle to accept or even feel that you deserve to be wealthy because of the things that were taught in many sermons and many pulpits. I've come to understand that it was not their fault for me to struggle in deserving wealth, because what I've come to understand, that I am 100% responsible for where I was then, where I am now, and where I will be in the future. I am. You are 100% responsible for your own maturity and growth, and accepting those things that are true and those things that are error. You just push those aside and you seek and study truth. And that's what happened eventually. Let me share my story with you. Back in 2000, I would say back in the 70s and 80s is when I was raised under the Pentecostal holiness tradition. It wasn't until 2001 where I dreamed of having financial freedom and having plenty of money. And I remember being part of a company, a business that I was one of the top leaders in the company. I was a trainer, and I was really growing, really moving up into the company. And then all of a sudden, deep in my subconscious mind, there was a belief that because I was excited about making a lot of money, I was excited about financial freedom, I was excited about retiring my wife. I want you to hear what I'm saying. I was excited about being able to pay for my kids in college or be able to give them whatever they want. I was excited about that dream. But deep in my subconscious mind, there was this idea, there was this thought that if you are excited about making money, and if you are passionate about making money, then you are worldly. And anybody who loves the world, then the love of God is not in them. And so whenever I would pursue different businesses, boom, it would hit me right in the face again. And I end up quitting. And I will go through this cycle, business after business after business. And for some reason, I could not get over the hump. And nothing changed for me until back in 2006. In 2006, I joined an organization called the Universal Foundation of Better Living, where the late Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman was the president of the organization. Also, she was a senior minister of the church in Chicago, Christ Universal Temple. And also the late Dr. Mary Tumpkin, who also was the president of Universal Foundation for Better Living, and she was the senior minister of UTC in Miami. And it wasn't until I joined that organization when my eyes, or let me say my eyes and also my mind opened up to principles and ideas that I was not privy to. Now, here's the exciting thing about this. And since, again, I said we evolve, because there was something inside of me that wanted a better life, then you can see that the journey of coming into this organization, the Universal Foundation for Better Living, was on my path. And I actually attracted that organization into my life so I could see that life can be better, and it is okay to be spiritual and rich. There's nothing wrong with it. So I remember joining this organization and becoming a minister and taking classes with this organization. I do remember, and I want to, first of all, as I continue, the reason why I am doing what I'm doing today, that I'm sitting in front of you with this Google Hangout and teaching and sharing with you about wealth consciousness, and that it is okay to have plenty of money and be spiritual at the same time. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is because the late Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. Johnny Coleman taught prosperity. Now, I didn't have the privilege of meeting her face to face, but I have her books. I've met many of her students and those that were members of CUT. And one of her books that I've read called It Works If You Work It. And she talks about prosperity, becoming a millionaire in her books. And the books was phenomenal. I give her credit because the day in her time when she was teaching prosperity, it was not popular. It was not a popular message. And even, I have to admit, even today, in many churches, it's not a popular message to teach prosperity and wealth. I also have to give credit to Reverend Ike. Back in the 70s and 80s, I remember from time to time hearing Reverend Ike on the radio. And I remember criticizing and speaking negative about Reverend Ike and his message about prosperity. And I even laugh now when I talk about it now to other people, say, wow, If I tune in and listen to Reverend Ike, I probably would have experienced wealth quicker, if I listened to his message, because Reverend Ike understood the spiritual laws of how to not only attract good into your life, not only money, but health, prosperity, happiness, and money. That's some of the things that he will say all the time in his lesson. And I would encourage you, if you are interested in experiencing the better life, then I encourage you to get his tapes, get his CDs, read his books. He is definitely was a pioneer. He definitely was a trailblazer in bringing people like myself who wants to continue on teaching prosperity and wealth consciousness. And he was one of the ones that, once I became a part of the Universal Foundation for Better Living in 2006, that I began to feed my mind with the ideas that he taught. I also want to give credit to Catherine Ponder, who was a Unity minister, who I have just about all of her books over to my right, my huge book, my bookstore there. I have all of her books on prosperity. Also, Edwin Gaines, who inspired me to teach prosperity, even though I did not have the millions that I desired. She was one of the ones that didn't have any money. And she said she taught these principles. And in teaching these principles, she manifests success and wealth for herself. Because listen, you cannot teach something that you don't eventually become. And so she's one of the ones that encouraged me and inspired me to go out, share your heart, teach these principles, and you will automatically manifest those things that you desire. So she's one of the ones that I definitely have followed. I have her book as well. And so reason why I'm here right now is because many of those men and women who trailed the path, who opened up the door for myself and many other people who teach this message of prosperity. I also have to give credit to my dear friend who is a minister in Memphis, Tennessee. His name is the Reverend Eric Donaldson, who's become definitely my mentor. And not only that, he is my 3 a.m. friend. And if you know what a 3 a.m. friend is that if you're having problems, he's one of the ones that's not going to, look at the phone and say, I'll talk to him later. He's one of my dear friends that if I'm ever dealing with something or I'm having some issues, I can give him a call, and he is someone that I can look to. He's also has helped me. He has encouraged me in so many ways to go, Richard. He was saying just like that, Richard, go, teach this message, teach prosperity. He said to me several times, he said, Richard, ever since I've known you, you had this passion to teach prosperity. And I said, I know, you're right. This has been my dream. I want to teach prosperity. I want to teach wealth consciousness. And he's one of the ones that has pushed me. And the next person I want to give credit to is my wife. My wife has supported me 100% in my dream of becoming a teacher, speaker, and sharing the things that are truly in my heart, that I want to help people to live a better life and to experience the life that they can have right now. Back in the tradition that where I was trained in, we were taught that you only can experience, wealth and happiness in the hereafter. But guys, my lesson to you is that you can experience the wealth, success, matter of fact, whatever your mind can conceive, whatever you can imagine, you can have that and experience it right now. So that is my dream, and that is my goal, is to teach as many as people I can that you can experience your wealth and success right now. So this is why Richard Duffy, also known as Reverend Rich, is here to share with you how we're going to build wealth consciousness and how we're going to change people's lives by sharing our message, by being true to yourself, and just allow God to use you. One of the things that I will say, the reason why it took me so long to come in front of you is because I was concerned, and this is something that I really believe this is going to help somebody. I was more concerned about what people thought about my message and what I wanted to share instead of just going forth and sharing what I believe was true in my heart. You can never have success and experience success that you want if you are worried about what people's going to think about you. You got to come to a point in your life where you do not care. Seriously. You know, I'm at a certain age right now that I do not care any longer what someone thinks about me. Matter of fact, there's a wonderful book out. What you think about me is none of my business. All right. So I'm excited now. I have gotten my breakthrough. I am ready to help carry the baton on that the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman started, the late Reverend Mary Tompkins started, Reverend Ike, Catherine Ponder, Edwin Gaines, and many others who I have not named is willing to go forth and share the wealth and prosperity consciousness. All right, the first thing I want to do is to share with you some thoughts. So I'm not going to hold you long because, as you know, I still have the Pentecostal preacher in me, so I can go for a long time, but I won't do that because I want you to listen to what I'm sharing, and then I want you to continue to come back. I don't want to be labeled as this a long-winded preacher, okay? All right. One of the things that's important in reference to prosperity is we need to understand the true meaning of what prosperity really is. In Catherine Ponder's book, she talked about prosperity in a definition that I want to share with you because many people have different meanings about prosperity. So she said the word prosperity is that you are prosperous to the degree that you are experiencing health, wealth, and happiness in your life. You are prosperous to the degree that you are experiencing health, wealth, success, and happiness in your life. Now, the true meaning of prosperity is never defined by the physical material things that we have. That's not definition of prosperity. And let me explain that to you. A prosperity consciousness is defined by we living in an expectation of unlimited good in our lives. That means every day I live with this expectation of good. So true prosperity is all about having this expectation. In other words, every day I'm expecting good things, good experiences in my life. So I'm expecting to be successful. I don't start a business to fail, but I'm expecting to achieve. I'm expecting to have good. I'm expecting to have good friends, loving people. There is an expectation of good. This is the true definition of a prosperity consciousness, because understand that prosperity is a state of mind. Now, when it comes to the material things, that's nothing but choices. In other words, let me share this with you. My wife and I, about this past December, we drove our son to Arizona, and he's attending the ASU in Arizona, Arizona State University, Sun Devils. And we drove his car. I believe he has a Kia Sentra, I believe it is. And it's a very small, compact car. And if you ever drove to Arizona, I'll tell you right now, it's 38 hours. Listen, it's a ride. And I was telling my wife, I said, listen, I don't mind because I love the time being with my family. If you guys ever follow me on Facebook, you know that I love my family. But that was a long, long ride. And I wanted and I wish we had a different car, a different vehicle to make that long distance ride. So what do I mean? That means if you are wealthy, you have a choice to buy a certain type of car. Buying a Mercedes, a Bentley, BMW, or whatever luxurious car that's out there does not define prosperity. You're just buying this vehicle because you have the money that you can afford to buy it, and this is just your choice. Just because someone does not have a luxury car doesn't mean he or she is not prosperous. That has nothing to do with it. Prosperity, a prosperity consciousness is a state of mind. It's an attitude of mind. Is living in expectation. Now, whatever I do to bring wealth into my experience, if I decide to go get a Bentley because that's what I want or that's what I desire to have, I have a right to go get a Bentley car. The gentleman who is selling Bentley cars, he's not going to turn me away. He's going to say, if you got the money, you got the credit, hey, this Bentley is yours. Now, can you imagine what the ride would have been like if we drove 38 hours to Arizona? I believe we'd be floating across the highway. That's the only difference. If I have the income and I have the money to buy a 5,000 square foot home or 10,000 square foot home, that's my choice. That's what I want to do. Does that mean that I'm prosperous? No. That means if I have the money and I'm able to buy it and afford it and do the things that I want to do, a prosperity consciousness, remember what I'm saying now, it is a state of mind. Most of the time when we hear the term prosperity, we do think of it from a material perspective. When I teach prosperity consciousness and wealth consciousness, I'm not even touching the material part. Because if you get the wealth consciousness right, and if you get the prosperity consciousness right, the part of the material thing will just come to you by default. They easily come to you. So the material part is just, what do you like? What do you want? If you have the money, go get it. It's there. God is not upset about anybody who buys a Bentley or who buys a 5 or 10 or 20 square foot home. God has no issue about that, because here's what you have to understand about a prosperity wealth consciousness. You have to understand that when you have this consciousness, now let me define consciousness for you. Consciousness is being awake. Okay? Did you hear that? Consciousness is defined as being awake to or being aware to. Now, what are you being awake to, or what are you being aware of? You are aware that there is infinite abundance available to me right now. Did you hear that? Wealth consciousness has to do with you being aware that infinite abundance is already available to me right now. You see, when I was studying with the Universal Foundation of Better Living, one of the things that the terms that I've heard many of the teachers say is that we are spiritual beings, which I truly believe we are. About a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a YouTube video, a training on, I forgot her name, but she was sharing how to manifest good into your life. And she was doing a meditation. And in her meditation, she used the term, we are infinite beings in a body. Wow. And when she said that, it was like, oh my goodness, we are infinite beings in a body. So what does that mean? If you are aware or awake that you are an infinite being in a body, That means there is no limit to what you can be, do, or have if you are aware of that. Okay, so if you are awake to the idea that you are an infinite being in a body, then you never have to compete with anyone. You know the law of opulence. You know that abundance is surrounds you right now. Okay, so you never have to compete. We don't ever have to be in competition. Okay, because we know that I am an infinite being in a body. God is spirit. God is infinite, right? In him I live. In him I move. In him I have my being. If God is infinite, so am I. Okay, so the infinite wisdom is within me. All the wealth that I desire is within me. And we're going to talk about how we manifest this wealth in later lessons and hangouts. So I hope you tune in. So when you understand about consciousness, consciousness has to do with, are you awake? Do you know a lot of people are walking around today, going back and forth to work, doing the things they need to do, and are fast asleep? Because the only thing they know that they can really have is based on the channel, which is their job that they have. And if that job is ever gone, or if something ever happens, then they panic. They begin to live in fear. They don't know, or they're not awake to the idea that there are infinite beings in the body, and they can attract supply into their life. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Catherine Ponder also says in her book, which I encourage you to get, I encourage you to read this book. It's called The Dynamic Laws to Prosperity. She talks in here about the word rich means having an abundance of good, living a fuller and more satisfying life. Now, guys, I'm going to share this with you, and I'm just going to say this because I believe it's true. Let me give you the definition that she defined rich again. It says, rich means having an abundance of good. So money is good. There is absolutely nothing wrong with money. Money is just a medium of exchange. That means when I go and decide to go to another city and stay at a hotel, what do? They give me the price of the hotel, right? I give them an exchange to stay in their room for whatever price they offer, right? So that's all money is. So if I want to stay at a 5-star hotel, I give them 5-star money, right? That's all money is used for. There is absolutely no reason for us to feel bad about being wealthy. Look what she says. She says, rich means having an abundance of good, living a fuller and more satisfying life. John Randolph Price is one of the first books that I've read, other than Think and Grow Rich, is one of the first books I've read that changed my life when it came to prosperity. If you get a chance, also, you can have his book. It's called The Abundance Book. He has in his abundance book a 21 abundance meditation, 21 days. And in those 21 days, there are 10 affirmations and meditations that you go through for 21 days straight. In those 21 days, something's going to happen on the inside of you because it's changing your awareness, or it's changing your consciousness. Things are being changed in your subconscious mind. So what happened to me, I think back in 2007, I think it was 2006, 2005, I can't remember. I needed some finances, and I needed it fast. I mean, I really needed something really quick. And my wife and I went through the 21-day abundance with John Randolph Price in 17 days. Actually, it happened in 17. It didn't happen in 21, but in 17 days, an idea came, and we was able to manifest the money that we needed. This book would really, really change your life. In his book, he talks about being awake to prosperity or being awake to wealth. And when you are not awake to prosperity, listen what he says. He says, we cannot have peace in this world without prosperity. I've never understood for the life of me since 2006 when I started this journey and started studying prosperity and wealth consciousness. For the life of me, I still do not understand why more messages are not preached in our churches about prosperity. In Catherine Ponder's book, she talked about that clergymen need to start ministering and teaching prosperity. She started teaching these principles back during the First Depression. And when she was teaching these spiritual laws, people's lives were being changed. People were being prosperous in their business, in their lives. They changed their profession because they found out that what their gift was. They started following their passion. Because of these principles that she taught, many people's lives were changed, and many people did not believe you could succeed during the time of depression. And people were succeeding because she was raising their consciousness. She was waking them up, helping them to see that the abundance that they seek is already within them. And that's what she did with these spiritual laws. Look at something else that John Randolph Price said in reference to prosperity and consciousness. In the Gospel of Thomas, stated, knowing your true identity, you will realize that you are one with the living Father, and that consciousness of that is my supply. My understanding that me and the Father are one, that consciousness is my supply. Did you hear that? If I'm awake to the idea that me and the Father are one, that is my supply. Let me give you an example. Have you ever looked at a bill or had a situation and you did not have enough money, and automatically that feeling of despair, that feeling of frustration? Have you ever been depressed? Have you ever been angry? That feeling is a signal that you do not believe that you and your Father are one, that God is over here. God, don't you see that I'm going through all of this situation here? And don't you see that I got all these bills and I got this problem and I don't know where I'm going to get the money from? That consciousness has kept millions of people in poverty because they don't believe that their Father, the universe, that you are one with God or you are one with the universe. So that consciousness has kept millions of people in poverty. Let me give you an example. The scripture said, he that have this consciousness, what consciousness? That you are one with the living Father, more is given to them. He that have not this consciousness, why? Because they're frustrated, they're angry, they have a negative attitude, they're blaming everybody. The reason why they're frustrated, they're mad at their boss because maybe business is slow, so they lay them off, they cut their hours back. They're mad at the president, so they're mad because they was raised without a father, and they're mad. They're frustrated. Says, he that have not that which he thought he had is taken away. This is why I want to teach and build the wealth consciousness with as many people that we can, because it is our divine right to experience the wealth that we deserve, or let me say it this way, the amount of wealth that you can imagine. Okay? The wealth that you can see in your mind, you can have it. Look what else John Randolph Price, and I'm going to end this session and talk some more in later hangouts. He says, but if you don't know yourself, now remember, we talked about that your true identity, if you realize that you are one with the living Father, and that consciousness of that awareness is your supply. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know your true identity, if you don't know who you are, if you still claim that you are male or female, if you do not claim that you are an infinite being in a body who can create their own economy, you are an infinite being in a body. You have infinite intelligence within you. You have infinite ideas within you. If you don't know yourself, you will dwell in poverty. And it is you who dwell in that poverty. Did you hear that? That goes along with the scripture that says, as a man thinks, as he feels, angry, frustrated, mad in his heart, that's what he becomes in his world, life, and affairs. Now, so if you dwell in that poverty, you become that poverty. We don't want to become that poverty, because again, poverty and prosperity is a state of mind. So we can change that. And that's why I'm here, guys. I am here to help change the wealth consciousness to as many people that we can. Imagine what life would be like if you had no more money problems. Imagine what life would be like if you can go where you want to go, be what you want to be, and do what you want to do without have any money issues. It is possible. It is possible. With man, it is impossible. But with God, all things are possible. In closing, I need to share with you my favorite quote. You're going to hear this quote all the time because I love this quote. And this particular quote is what really changed my life. And the quote is by Russell Conwell. And he says, you ought to be rich. You have no right to be poor. To live and not be rich is a misfortune. And it's a double misfortune because you could have been rich just as well as being poor. And he goes on to say that we ought to get rich if we can by honorable methods. And these are the only methods that sweep us quickly toward riches. We can through honorable methods, and this is the way that sweeps us toward riches. All right, my friend, I'm gonna give myself the pat on the back because this is my first hangout. I've gotten my breakthrough. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm coming forth and I'm going to share with you what's on my heart. There are people who's going to say, man, thank you. And there are some people that say, you know what? Nah, I don't want to hear that. And that is okay. But I know there's somebody out there who's been through what I've been through, who I can share with you those things that have actually changed and transformed my life. And I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about the platform and able to share with you these truth principles. All right. Now, I'm asking you that you can also follow me on YouTube. Go to how you too can be prosperous, how you can be prosperous in life. You also can read my blogs. You go to www.youtoocanberich.com. It's YOUTOO. youtoocanberich.com. And also, you can opt in to receive my blogs, my videos, and many other things that I'm going to share with you in previous lessons. I'm also going to have different people coming on and sharing their view on prosperity consciousness, interviewing, and many different things about what these lessons and these principles and how it has affected and changed their life. So we're going to have many different things happening for us when it comes to this wealth and prosperity consciousness. I believe it's time. It's been past time to help us change the world and help them one person at a time to build wealth consciousness. All right. All right, guys, I'm excited about it. I feel good. I feel wonderful. Thank you for watching this hangout. If you have any thing to mention underneath the video, please send your comments. It doesn't matter whether good or bad. Anything you would like for me to teach or to share on, put it down there on the your message, and I will read them, and I also will respond back. All right. Love you guys. Peace and blessing. I encourage you to live rich and live happy. God bless.